Living on the water is the only life we know. Yo, ho, ho, ho. It's time for the Bodie Show.
It's almost Easter, which is that's a spring thing.
It is a spring thing, yes. And for a second, I thought you were excited about Easter, and that just didn't track for me.
No.
Anyway, I think to your point, we are edging towards spring. We are getting close.
We are.
Yes, it's very exciting.
I'm working on my mic technique. Jay gave me some notes. He said 3 fingers away so that I don't pop my P's and make it sound like I have plosives. I got to hold the mic back. So hopefully this will sound better than it did before.
I'm sure it's going to be great.
But that's Inside Podcast.
It is.
BS. We're going to jump right into old business. Do you recall?
Okay.
Do you recall this is like a mix of old business and listener corrections and listener additions.
Okay.
Do you recall the story of me losing steering in the crew launch?
I do.
And then we talked about hugging the engine and wrestling the engine back to the dock.
Yes.
Right. So,
Yep.
Emily, she texted me, "Hi, I'm listening to your steering story. As soon as you said 20 horsepower Mercury, I went, oh, he hit the lever." So it's a thing. 20 horsepower Mercuries of a certain vintage have that friction lever, and enough people have accidentally hit the lever and frozen the motor in place that their steering got whacked, that Emily, enough people, well, at least Emily.
At least one person.
At least one person knew all about that. So it makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm part of a community.
Yeah, that's a close boat moment. That's very sweet.
And then
You're like,
and then the next,
we all make the same mistakes, or at least 2 of us do. Yeah.
at least 2 of us do. Speaking of, she follows up, once my dad hooked up our steering cables on the Whaler backwards. So when you turned left, you went right.
Oh my God. Remember when I first put the baby lamb in the water, and then also Phil and Kate's boat?
Phil and Kate's boat, the throttle.
Just like my Menemsha.
was
same.
backwards.
But it was, yeah, you had to drive in reverse.
You had to put it in reverse to go forward. These are things that car people don't have to deal with. Like, I don't think this happens a lot.
Yeah, no, you're right. I've in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, like, wouldn't all of that be fixed if we all had hydraulic steering? I don't know if it's true or not, but
no, I think because like you could like put the hose on the wrong side on that. I mean, maybe in hydraulics it's much more apparent what goes where. Like when you go to the gas pump, you know the diesel nozzle
doesn't fit in the thing.
Doesn't fit in the gas cap that you have.
I have had that embarrassing experience once in my life. Yes.
Oh, so you were saved from filling your gas car up with diesel or vice versa?
Yes, and then I had to ask somebody. I was like, dude, how come I can't get this to go in full tank? And he's like, it's the diesel. And I was like, sweet.
Did he speak back to you with vocal fry? That's great.
No, but there was just like that amazing sort of like look up, look down, look to the left, pausing moment that I'm not sure I need to characterize it. I think everybody knows what I mean. Like, it was just like
that guy was like, wait, is she messing with me?
It was like the equivalent of vocal fry. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, so moving on.
Yes. And her dad, Mark, good on him for hooking up the steering cables in the first place and having a little
way to spin that in the positive
DIY moment. But also I did not ask a follow-up question of Emily. How long did you drive the boat around like that? which
that is a good question.
Yeah. Because
sometimes you're like, do I want to wait a week to have them fix it again? Or do I want to just rock and roll and figure out a new skill set?
Like how long did you drive the Menemsha around with reverse being forward?
I can tell you as little as possible. I did take it to a different marina. None of the above shall be named. And talk to them. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. And they were great. They were like, we got it. And they did. They fixed it.
Yeah. And Phil and Kate bought a brand new boat and it came.
Yes. The Sisu.
No, we can't talk about it. We're not going to name the manufacturer. Although
why?
We should.
Because because we're going to wait for them to pay us or something?
No. I just like you weren't going to badmouth the marina that hooked it up wrong. I wasn't going to badmouth the boat manufacturer that delivered a boat that.
Listen, it's a really nice boat. I would have taken it even with the malfunction.
It is. Well, Eastern, like they did a really, really good job of making it right. Like that Phil called them. He took delivery. He took it out. He had to go. You had to go put it in reverse to go forward, if I recall. And you were in a separate boat, and I was with Phil in the boat going from Key Waden down to. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. Early in the spring, probably around Easter, and they ordered this thing. It's the first new boat they've ever bought. It's like bucket list kind of thing for boat people, and Phil called up Eastern. And they were mortified, and they basically like gave the local marina like a blank check to make it right and as fast as possible. And so they did. They fixed it.
Yeah, these things happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was those were formative moments. Yeah. When we just said DIY, good job DIYing it, then it made me think that there should also be like. Not just do it yourself, but also like I did it myself wrong. Like, is there or I did it wrong myself? Is there a slightly different
DIY
acronym?
is do it yourself. What's the acronym for F it up yourself?
Yeah.
FIY.
I just feel like I just have the inkling that there
do it yourself
could be a moment.
Or like FUBAR It Yourself.
Yeah. I have the feeling that could be a useful acronym. Should we come up with one that flows off the tongue easily? We'll keep that on. We could leave that on old business.
We could leave that to Emily and Mark to decide. Like it can be like we could just call it the.
Not the good job it up yourself.
Especially that's not good because I promise I'm trying not to use last names in this, but.
You just meant the breakfast cereal. Okay, what's next?
Yes. Oh, what's next is a listener correction from Encyclopedia John, our friend and listener at Brooklyn Boatyard. And he writes that this is a couple episodes ago. In your next episode, you might mention that the stupid broker made a mistake on the year of the Chris Craft Cavalier named Relish. Should be 1970. 1970.
Okay.
I think the listing was 72. The ad was from the 69 catalog. So we were all over the map. And very cool to me, there appears to be a Chris Craft Cavalier on a trailer next to the Schuylkill River that I can't remember if I mentioned this on a show or not, that I want to go check out because it might need me. Maybe I'm the only one that can fix it up.
Yeah, you do need a good codependent boat relationship. Actually, you really don't, but I'm going to leave that
I've got a lot now already. And the great thing about codependent boat relationships is that you can have more. All right, another one. Do you remember Captain David's submission of a offshore race boat that was seized? This was the
COVID seizure boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the offshore race boat that the local sheriff's department seized because the owner was engaged in fraudulent, like basically embezzlement of money that was meant for COVID response, COVID testing, something like that. And Captain David's question was, hey, could probably pick this up for a song. The price is good for what it is. Doesn't have any engines, and the listing. And he wanted to know how many E-Techs you would need to put on it. And
he wanted to know if you could throw a couple of E-Techs on it.
So it turns out you could throw a couple of E-Techs on it.
Okay.
However, if you wanted to equal the performance of the engines that had been removed from it, you would need to throw 13 E-Tech 250s on it to approach that because. Listener Scott says the 1650 is indeed 1,650 ponies. With twins, that nudges the total to 3,300 horsepower. So you need 13 E-Tech 250s to approach that. So
wow.
Yeah.
Look at our listeners doing the math. That's amazing.
Right. You got a low bar.
And also, I think it answers the question in a different way than our first answer. We, of course, were like, of course you can. But also, if you wanted to run in the same way it was meant to, then you may want to think of something else besides 13 outboards.
Yeah. So the like I didn't know if the 1650 was a model number or it was the horsepower of the engines that had been taken out, because the listing said something like, looks like it used to have Mercury Racing 1650s in it. And
I still don't understand. Was 1650 the horsepower?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it.
So I'm gonna read a sleep story for you. Feel free to take a nap.
Okay.
The 9-liter. This is the copy for the Mercury Racing.
I'm so excited about the snap moment. Go ahead.
This is the copy for the Mercury Racing 1650. The 9-liter quad cam 4-valve 1650 delivers Godzilla-like power throughout the RPM band. It is based on the same 4-valve technology with quad cams and dry sump efficiency as its consumer siblings. Larger turbochargers packed with an improved compressor wheel design provide greater airflow for enhanced power and torque. Racers appreciate Mercury Racing's proprietary pulse-separated exhaust tuning, which keeps turbos spooled up, virtually eliminating throttle lag and low-end torque.
Thank God.
Low-end torque deficit. Immediately followed by a link, ways to buy. Oh my God, the outdrive on this thing looks so cool. Mercury Racing M8. It's looks like a torpedo missile.
I feel like that was the right level of sort of geekery that my brain was not really able to engage with it. So it was soothing instead of stimulating.
So that we're trying to bracket what a good Bodhi sleep story is, because a while back we had a request for an episode that was really just a soothing reading of boat content to which to go to sleep by.
Yeah.
We're going to put a pin in that and come back to it in just a moment. Put a pin in that and pop it like perhaps a insufficient life-saving device would be popped by a pin. And we're going to come back to that because we had a little show before the show, and I really want to share what the show was with you.
You always do.
With you, dear listeners. Other old business, grease fittings. You went and did some research.
I did. I did because, and you know why? Because it was because there was this moment where you said, what was the kind of fitting? Zeke?
Zerk.
You were like, Zerk. And you know what all I could think about is, how subatomic particles have some crazy names, right?
Quark.
That's what I was, yeah. And there's a bunch of other ones too. And so I just was like, what are the other ones? And you were like, I don't know. The Zerk is the only one I know. So I went and I think I sent you did I send you a picture?
Yeah. You sent me a screenshot of some search results. All right. So from Hoyt.com, grease fittings, there's a list. Ball type fittings, button head fittings, flush fittings, hydraulic shutoff fittings, leak proof grease fittings, pin type fittings, safety vent fittings, and standard grease fittings. Then
where's Zerk?
Doesn't say. I'm going to say those are standard.
Okay.
Then you asked a question, what are the different types of greasing nipples?
I didn't. That just came up with it. And from Bare Tools, there are cone grease nipples, flat grease nipples, and funnel grease nipples. It's true. I mean, I do feel like I need a little bit more information, and I also feel like I don't want to know anymore.
You don't want your search algorithm to be trained anymore.
There's a lot happening already. But yes, so
your
now
search algorithm was like, what happened to this lady? Man, things were cool and it was easy. It was easy being her algorithm, and now
that's what happens with Bodhi stuff. It's weird. Anyway, we know a lot more than we did. So check.
Funnel? There's just
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And Captain Copy may come back with an ad for
a different kind of grease nipple.
A different kind of grease nipple.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be appropriate.
Yes. Also, what would be appropriate right now is that thing I put a pin in for. Could we go back and read?
You want me to read my sleep story?
Yeah. So
okay.
In the show, while you get set up, in the show before the show, Steph said she'd been thinking about the Bodhi sleep story. So she pulled out her giant blue book called Pleasure Boating, which when you open it up, it's got amazingly beautiful illustrations and then very, very dense content. Very dense.
Right. And this was last night, and I was like, I am tired and I need to go to bed, and there's nothing will put me to bed like reading the content inside this book, because it's got to be so boring. Like, I was like, I'm just going to give it a try. And I started with this chapter called Safety on Board, and I was like, okay, that sounds so boring. I'm just going to try reading it. So here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Safety and seamanship have to do with staying alive. Sorry. Which I feel like it was a startling beginning.
You're like, it's not even like, it could be avoiding injury. It could be,
like,
preventing splinters.
It's like the shit got real in a hurry. Like sentence one.
Yeah.
It was like, it is not even, it's just one column. Safety and seamanship have to do with staying alive. Boats may sink, blow up, catch fire, or be lost by stranding or being run down. So I'm not tired anymore. I don't know if you are. In the long term, it does not matter how accidents happen. The important thing is to survive them. There's a really interesting writing style going on I want everybody to appreciate. For this reason, one starts with personal buoyancy aids in the form of life jackets. It is not known how many lives were saved among air crews during the Second World War due to the Mae West life jacket. But there were many, and of its day, the Mae West was an excellent life jacket. Since then, advances in design and material have been achieved. Moreover, governments and various concerned bodies have taken a hand in the matter to ensure that life jackets are not death jackets. I don't know what to make of this.
During the show, before the show, I remarked that, man, back in the day when people wrote books like this, there must not have been any dark humor, and it must have meant things were just a lot better, right? Because calling it a death jacket is hilarious to me. It's straight up hilarious, right?
Yeah, but then, like, you're right. They're taking it very seriously. Like, look, a death jacket would, for instance, be one which would float an unconscious man face downwards in the water. Like, it's an actual description of a death jacket. Like,
right.
They're not.
Yeah, here.
Like, there's no hyperbole here. It's just specific, a very specific reference.
Maybe there used to be death jackets and they needed to provide an alternative to it.
I don't know, but I feel like you and I are going to use that word this summer.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, you want another death jacket? I don't know.
Well, I guess when you're not wearing your life jacket, you're wearing your death jacket.
Yes. Okay. Rule one,
well,
therefore,
it's dark out. It's dark out, Steph. We should probably put on our life jackets, and you'd be like, "Nah, I'm gonna wear my death jacket."
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's a great impersonation of me.
Thank
you for that.
You get all like,
I do.
Devil
I get a
may
little
care,
feisty,
and your voice gets gravelly.
I do. Do you want some more? Or are we
go
good?
on. No, go on.
Rule one, therefore, is to buy a personal life jacket which has been manufactured to official approved standards. And it's not getting nice and boring now. An owner of a crewed yacht must ensure that there are life jackets on board placed where they can be readily grabbed for every member of the crew.
Okay, that's good.
It is the owner's or skipper's responsibility to see to it that the life jackets are worn when conditions demand it. Since people drown by being in the water. I love this sentence. This is one of my this was again where I was like, whoa, not tired anymore. Maybe
people were like, maybe this pleasure boating book was an intervention on a very, very ignorant society.
That's
in terms
how it feels,
of like,
doesn't it? It does. It feels like
I'm not drowning. I'm not in the sand.
I don't know what's happening here. I just want to say, oh my gosh, a heavy sweater can be a bulky and irksome when worn under oilskins.
That's part of the safety. That's how is a bulky sweater under your oilskin your death jacket? We probably shouldn't be making so much light of this because it's a serious.
I know.
topic.
Well, we want everyone to be safe.
Can I tell you an anecdote? So our friend Brian,
yes.
who was an amazing Coast Guardman, Captain Brian, he told me once, he's like, what was it? It was, I can't remember the particulars of it, but he said in the context of wearing life jackets, I believe at night, when not all, but a lot of bad stuff happens, especially in like inshore waters and pleasure boating. He's like, boat would go down, we'd respond and didn't matter how long anybody, how long it was that anybody called, no matter what, we'd get there and we just fish the life jackets out of the water. So his point was that if you didn't wear them, they'd show up and, the boat would be sunk and they just fish the life jackets out of the water, not the people wearing the life jackets out of the water. That quote sticks with me. We're making light of this the description of death jackets and, the reminder that, listen, you drown in water, okay? But that does stick with me. That what he told me once. He's like, yeah, like people drinking, boating at night. We just show up and fish the life jackets out of the water.
Yeah, fair enough. And I suppose in retrospect, safety on board maybe wasn't the best chapter to start with for sleep stories. So lessons learned, and more to come on that.
Did you just put that book away and try another method to fall asleep, or did you actually go to the maintenance section?
I did go to the maintenance section.
Did it work?
And it was pretty boring for me, but you know what I mean? And I feel like this is kind of similar to that conversation we had about how if I learned too much about how curling worked, then I might not be able to curl anymore. It's one of those things like how like the starter engages the flywheel. Like you want something where the flywheel is just going to stay right up here, just spinning, right? You don't really want it. So for me, reading about maintenance, like I don't understand 99.9% of it. So it was very soothing. Okay. Yes.
But look at you using a starter and a flywheel in an outboard as an effective analogy.
I know. Well, you do.
That was some hardcore boat podcaster shit right there.
But I did spend that whole summer with the hammer and the starter, right? 2 summers ago, to be clear.
I keep
and then I
forgetting
fixed it with the hammer. And then last summer, it was fine. I just had to explain all of this to my new boat mechanic the other day. As you can imagine, it went very well.
And that'll be our segue into like, what did you do this week that was boaty? Because you...
I have a new boat mechanic who's coming here to my house and doing all the things that need to be done on boats. Whatever that is.
Whatever they are. That you try not to pay too much attention to because you want to be like that flywheel just spinning.
But I know things. He's changing the oils, plural, and some filters, plural. And we've had this conversation about an impeller, blah, blah. And then there was my favorite moment, which I sent you a picture of.
You did.
Where we were in your barn looking at my little green boat. And he's like, oh, yeah, looks like a fish fell out of your exhaust right there. And I was like, I'm sorry? Excuse me? And he's like, yeah, right there on the floor. And I looked down at a little fucking fish, like a 2-inch fish, and like sitting directly under like my outboard motor on the concrete floor.
It very clearly had fallen out of your motor.
And he's like, yeah, that happens. They get sucked up in there. And then when you pull the boat and you leave it there, then it falls out. And I was like, wow, this is very like circle of life and circle of many things. Like I've never seen a fish like fall out of a motor.
That fish got up in the morning and put on its death jacket. Not sorry.
It really did. It really did. Oh my gosh. It's very, it's well said.
So tell me more about this boat mechanic. What's his name?
His name is Buster.
Uh-huh.
And all I know is he knows about boats. He seems very competent. And we had lots of conversations. There was a moment where we were sort of like man-woman splaining at each other about bilge pumps, which was amazing.
By the way, you told me you found the bilge pumps.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. And this is old business. Yeah, they were missing. Sure enough, they were in the barn. I found them. But before I found them, we had this back and forth where I was kind of woman-splaining about what kind of bilge pump I wanted. And then he was man-splaining back what kind of bilge pump I should have. And it got a little tense there for a minute. But, but it all worked out fine. I was like, I have a podcast, so... No, I didn't say that. But anyway, so then, but I pulled it luckily we diffused all of that tension because I pulled out the bilge pumps and they were exactly the kind of bilge pump that he wanted.
Wanted.
Yes.
But not the kind you wanted.
No, that's not necessarily the case.
But you had been explaining to him the kind of bilge pump you had very like particular and specific, indications for the sort of bilge pump you wanted. I have in my mind,
what we're talking about now is the subfloor, right? We're talking about bilge pump in the subfloor of my boat.
Yep.
I don't need it very often. Right. I just want it to be there in the moment that I need it. And he wanted it to be an automatic one. And I was like, I don't need it to be automatic. Actually, manual would be fine. And that was where we had a little back and forth. And he was like, no. And I was like, well, actually.
That was the splaining. That was the splaining tension. Okay.
Kinda.
So
did you feel it when I said that? Did you feel it?
Just then?
The tension? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I felt that awkward moment where See, no, I'm not getting sucked into. I'm not getting. This is entrapment. This is. I can see it.
I'm not doing anything.
That right there. That is an indication.
I'm taking a light touch on this whole thing. I'm not saying he was not necessarily out of line. He didn't. It's tricky with explaining things because you don't know how much other people know. No one was really making mistakes. I was explaining how I wanted it to be used, and he was explaining how he wanted it to work. Yeah. There were two different things.
You said you didn't want an automatic bilge pump, and he said, but then it won't come on when your boat's sinking.
That's exactly what he said. And then he said, I'm not going to come out and fix it if it sinks after I put the wrong bilge pump in. And I was like, I'm not going to ask you to.
I like Buster because he's like, hey, I'll put a manual bilge pump in here, but
yeah, Buster he was really expressing some healthy boundaries in that moment.
In the splaining. Wait, I think I'm doing a good job of backing away slowly.
Yes,
I'm disengaging.
Next topic.
I am not gonna. Nope. Next topic.
Next topic.
Fish on the floor, Buster. Oh, you said that the houseboat oils got changed and the filters got changed.
He did that today. So we now have we have a refreshed, or shall I call it recommissioned, engine on the houseboat for the first time in several years, which is very exciting, and also will do absolutely nothing to enhance my experience, which is the most annoying thing about maintenance, because I'll be clear.
You spend all this money and
annoying, but that's fine.
So it's annoying because you spend the money or the time
and the mental energy,
and it changes nothing other than the possible future. Of course.
Maybe there will be less need for death jackets. Yes, I know. I get it. I'm just saying, when everything just goes fine, it's hard to remember that, but yes, it's great.
So listeners, right now, she's got this sneer of derision and acceptance.
Yes,
there's acceptance and derision and just are fighting each other on Steph's face right now. I love it. You can hear it in the sigh. You hear that, listeners?
Fine. It's great.
And
I wonder how many years I could have gone without doing it. That's what I'm really thinking. How many? I bet I could have gone 2 more years. Anyway, it's fine. I'm so pleased that I got to do that.
All this was reinforced when you spent a summer having to take the cover off of your outboard and hit it with a hammer in order to get it to start. And then the next summer, you didn't have to do that, and you call it your self-healing motor. And
exactly.
You've extrapolated from that hey, maybe everything fixes itself.
Yeah, I know. And I also know that it's really annoying that I say that, because whatever.
It's not annoying to me. It's not, because it's not my motor.
I mean, I have had to tow you in a boat more often than you've had to tow me in a boat.
Fair, because I have run out of gas. I ran out of gas twice last summer.
It was only once, but that's still more than you've had to tow me so far. Just saying. All right. Okay, so that's my.
You really want to move on from this, and I'm, that's the boaty stuff that you've been doing. I've been in.
Yeah, what have you been doing?
I've been in crew jail. You
are in full-on crew jail.
Yep. Which means practice and races and lots of time on the water or next to the water, which is great. It's great. No, it's great.
No. I hear it. There's some grumpy crew grumpiness.
I can report that we had, since we're sort of on a maintenance kind of thing, we have in this crew team, we have 4, we have 3 wakeless launches. They're these fiberglass catamarans that have a 20-horse motor, and if you drive them moderately, they throw almost no wake. It's pretty cool. And then we have 2 just like tin boat aluminum. We call them V hulls. They're there's a moderate V on the front and not much on the transom. So no dead rise at the transom, though there is dead rise in the middle and at the front.
0 at the back.
0 dead rise at the transom. So they are round bilge. So that in a way they are more of a down east style hull, which is so characteristic of the down east hull. There's a V up front. There's dead rise at the bow, no dead rise at the stern, round bilge with a transition between the 2.
I hear you. I love it.
Okay. You not engaging in my attempt to get you to talk about dead rise with me.
I mean, I feel like I've covered this so thoroughly. I already know this. Could you giddy up to some grease nipples now or what? Like, blah, blah. We already
I just
handled
laughed
this in
so
the last
hard that my
podcast.
headphones fell off.
I mean, we already,
Anyway,
this is already
so
part
we
of the,
had two of these. We call them V-hulls. We had two of these tin boats, these V-hulls. One had a Mercury and one had a Tohatsu, which I don't know if they'd converged yet, but at some point, Mercuries and Tohatsus became like the same engines. At least at a certain horsepower level. This is a sleep story for you, I know. So anyhow,
true story.
so the one Mercury, the steering got messed up because somebody, which is probably me, hit that lock lever that Emily knew about from various FIYs in the past, in her boating past.
There it is.
FIUY. Yeah, FIUY.
I like it.
And it turns out that when the motor was that friction lever was engaged for a while. I hadn't been using the boat, but people were like, the steering's stiff. I'm like, okay. But it turns out that when you just like, brute force it and use the poor little steering box with its gears to overcome the friction of that little lever for long enough, the little gears get stripped and you don't have any steering.
That makes sense.
But then the other boat, that was the Mercury, the other boat that had a Tohatsu 20 on it, and the shift linkage had the shift linkage. So when you shift the throttle into forward, it both adds gas and air to the engine and makes it go. Okay. It's the accelerator. And it also shifts the boat into forward or reverse.
Yeah.
So the throttle lever at the steering station incorporates both a gear shift and an accelerator.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the shift linkage that there's a cable that runs from the throttle at the steering station, throttle slash shifter at the steering station. There's a cable that runs all the way to the back and goes into the motor. And in there's some more linkage that pushes a rod up and down. The rod goes out of the bottom of the power head down to the gear case, the transfer case, where there's a forward gear and a reverse gear. And that rod is two parts, an upper and a lower, with a barrel nut that joins them. And the barrel nut had come loose many, many times. And we had just kept driving it because we show up there and it's time to go to practice and we don't have time to be messing around with this stuff. Anyway, I had figured out that this barrel nut was coming loose and I had gotten it tight, but somewhere along the way, a bunch of like half shifts had stripped and a bunch of like slamming into reverse, because that's how you get it to go into forward kind of behavior, had messed up basically the transmission of the outboard. And so it wouldn't go into forward anymore, even though like there'd been about 2 weeks where I was like limping it along. Basically for about a month, I was the only one that took those boats out, because like every practice there would be something wrong and I would fiddle with it and I would limp it through that practice. But on a day last week or the week before, both gave out. The steering was to the point where like I was like, you know what, not safe. Like if I got to respond to something with one of these kids out in the water, this isn't cool. And and then the shift linkage, it would not go into forward no matter what we did, adjusting the upper and the lower linkage arms. And good news is there's, on the same stretch of the Schuylkill River, there's SS Marine. We'll give them some free advertising. And Skip, who I believe S is Skip. One of the S's is Skip, and the other S is his last name, which maybe it's Salamanca.
Okay.
So Skip Salamanca. So anyway, Skip keeps a stock of Tohatsu 20s, which are that's the motor that goes on every crew launch on the Schuylkill River that I've ever seen. And so Skip's got a nice little business selling 20 horsepower Tohatsus to all of the rowing programs. And he had one in stock and he put it on the V-hull. And that's nice because it came with electric tilt. Hey, go away. We have cousin dogs staying with us. Go away. I'll feed you in a little bit. And one of them will not let it drop, as my sister said, when it's time to eat. So that's the barking that's going on. I digress.
Oh, okay.
I digress.
All right.
Skip had a 20 horsepower Tohatsu. Lovely fact. It came with electric tilt trim, because the old ones you had to go back there and haul a 20 up out of the water because the end of our dock has gotten silted in from this big rain gutter pipe thing that like dumps a bunch of gravel there. And I had been, over the last couple of years, when the water got low enough, going in wearing Crocs and rolling my pants up and like doing some pretty half-assed manual dredging.
Dredging, yeah.
Yeah, but no matter what, we still had to like tilt the motor up to get into the dock. And sometimes the motor didn't get tilted up and it would get stuck in the gravel, and then like it was a whole thing. So long story short, we got a new motor and it has electric tilt, which is awesome because then when the water goes back down, I'm not going to have to get back in there and dredge, which it never really worked.
Fabulous news, and that is a very Bodie report. Thank you for that.
It's Bodie.
Congratulations.
It's Bodie in the sense.
Very Bodie.
Oh, you know what? The other thing is, I saw some ducks today at practice that I got to send you the picture. I'm going to send you the picture right now, and you might know what kind of ducks they are. They were cool looking.
Yeah.
One of the I enjoy the change in seasons because it's a change in wildlife.
Yeah.
And one of the kids told me that she saw some turtles, which is good because it's been really cold and rainy and cold forever March here in Philly. And I know I'm speaking to somebody who lives in the North Country who has zero sympathy for my cold weather.
I do. I have the same amount of sympathy that you have for my traffic problems. Which is virtually nothing.
Virtually Schadenfreude.
But I do. I hear you. I had somebody recently called this season not spring, which I think is a really great word for it. Yeah. It's just not spring.
No.
Yet.
No. I just texted you the picture.
I got it.
Can you zoom in?
I'm not looking at it yet.
These were taken on the fly. I was standing up driving a sit-down boat, trying to keep a couple of other boats safe. But I saw these ducks.
Dude, that's a wood duck.
Hey! Cool. There were two pairs that were... They got such, like, interesting...
Really beautiful, right?
Interesting markings, yeah. Like, the male has these, like, distinct lines of colored white feathers against black feathers on his head and body and tail.
Yeah, like it almost looks like piping.
Yeah. And she's got some of that going on too, but like you can, like in this picture, you can barely see her because she's so well camouflaged.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I like wood ducks.
Not spring. That's what we're living in right now. Not spring. But you're right. It's everything's on the move, even if you don't feel it. And today, I can't remember where I was. I think maybe I was in my room, or maybe, I don't know, but I did hear some nice freighter horns, which was really lovely.
Yeah. As
much as I am not prone to be romantic about, commercial navigation. Right. It was nice to hear.
And that lack of romance is because, they will sometimes like lose steering and dump oil in the river. And,
right.
They like mostly carry high value, non-containerized commodities, which tend to be explosive and corrosive.
Right. Especially these days. There's a lot of, yes, exactly. So I'm not romanticizing the cargo. I'm just romanticizing the sound of the freighter. So it does sound good sometimes.
That safety chapter in your book wasn't romantic.
Jeff, I feel like we have a lot to cover. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, but we haven't done like a real show in a while, so I was just enjoying it.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you want to rush through it, that's fine.
I just want to make sure we get to all the good stuff. I know we have
because what we just did wasn't good.
You're the one that's always trying to keep me from yammering on too much
about non-Bodie stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, ducks are Bodie.
All right.
Are you ready? No. You've got the list. What's next?
What's next?
Stable or sleek. Check out that vessel, baby, isn't she sweet? It's the boat of the week, the boat of the week. Ooh, how I love it, the boat of the week. Da 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 da. Hey, yeah, let's check out the boat of the week.
All right. Last time we did a boat of the week, we got interrupted because we had to go to a meeting, and we are not really going to pick up where we left off. We're just going to see what we can do from the email. All right, ready? So Janelle sends in a boat of the week. That's a very special boat because her family has a tradition of taking the first boat ride of the season, and they do it in a 1974 Starcraft aluminum powered boat powered by a 1990 Evinrude 15. And it looks a lot like the what we call the tin boats that we coach from. This is a tiller steered F-115, and this is a bare bones boat. There's not much to it, but it's the traditional first boat ride of the year boat for Janelle. Okay, that's the first one. Which one should we do next? Should we do Mark?
Yes.
All right, Mark. And I'm trying not to use last names because Mark's been on the show before, and since since the podcast gets downloaded by a single location in China and a single location in Russia, it is definitely being used to train AI. And if we're hopeless, our voices have already been deep faked.
Oh God!
And
the less I know about that, the better.
Our first and last names are associated with our deep fake voice, so try not to. Mark's been on the podcast. All right, I'm gonna click on this link, and he says in his email, "All electric hydrofoil, America's cup technology. My nerd cup floweth over."
The revolutionary system design of the Artemis e-foiler includes a high-voltage marinized 800-volt battery energy storage system and ultra-high power density electric drivetrain supporting growing industry demand to cut CO2 emissions and adopt electrification solutions within maritime transport. I think what people need to know is that this is a hydrofoil situation. So once you get up and going, it actually pops up out of the water and just keeps a piece underneath. Yeah?
And that piece actually keeps 3 pieces underneath.
3 pieces. Yeah. I'm looking at the top picture.
There's a keel. If you scroll down, there's a keel, which is about at the sort of a third of the way back from the bow. And that's got a big old propeller on it and a big old motor torpedo shape in the middle of it. And it's got wings, and the keel, there's a part that goes straight up and down to support the boat. At the bottom of that, there's a wing.
Well, I will say, and it kind of looks like, I don't know if it's what is it, like a 24 or something like that, 28 maybe?
Yeah.
And it looks like a Coast Guard boat, but it's blue. But it has the pilot house, and it has this super duper crazy industrial rub rail situation around it.
Yep.
I wonder how fast it goes. I think you should give us a few words. What are your thoughts?
It's a hydrofoiling powerboat that's all electric. I don't know. It's an electric hydrofoiling boat that flies on wings above the water, and these guys are advertising their technology, not necessarily a specific boat. There's a computer generated mock-up or rendering of a super futuristic looking catamaran ferry. Yeah,
I saw that. I will say that I love there's a couple things that are hard not to like. One of them is that, we talk a lot about how boats ride, and I'm assuming this one rides well because it's not hitting the waves.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to ignore that.
Yes.
It also says that there's a reduced wake situation, so it doesn't throw a lot of wake. So as long as you're not wakeboarding, then that's a good thing.
Yes.
You and I have talked a lot about stance recently, about cars.
We have, yeah. We were talking about that Porsche boat and that it looked goofy because it did not have the stance of the Porsche car that it was trying to copy or mimic.
Exactly. And maybe I could overlook this because of all the other positives, but this boat does not have stance.
It does not. Can you see the more futuristic looking catamaran renderings when you scroll down without handling your phone and creating inappropriate sound? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Do you think those look better?
I mean, it looks okay. There's no, I don't think I can really compare it to my usual aesthetic. I don't want it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
It does not fit my aesthetic, but also that's okay too. So I like it.
I'm going to give props to the design of these futuristic catamaran ferries that are up on foils, because they look like they should be up on foils. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
It's just the really well thought out design. The demonstration boat that they put foils on that's 100% electric and can fly around. It looks doesn't look great because it's like a regular sort of utility cabin, rigid hull inflatable collar, work boat that's just popped out of the water on foils. And so it just looks a little goofy because it's that boat popped out of the water on foils.
Yep.
Right?
I agree with you.
From an aesthetic standpoint, it was not designed to look like it should be out of the water on foils. Whereas the
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. It actually looks kind of hilarious.
Yeah.
In the last picture at the bottom, when it looks. But you're right. That's a good distinction. So, and also as stated, there's a lot of good things about it. But yeah.
And what I love
All right,
is
so-
what I love is what's old is new again. Like back in the 50s and 60s, it was like super futuristic to consider hydrofoiling boats, and there were hydrofoil ferries like that went across the channel from across the English Channel from England to France. There was this a crazy cool hydrofoil boat in one of the James Bond movies. Might have been in a couple of James Bond movies, like Thunderball, the one where they have all the scuba diving underwater stuff. Do you remember that one?
No.
I love James Bond movies. I watch them to relax over and over again. I don't know why they relax me so much. But anyway, yeah. So like hydrofoils were all the sort of futuristic rage back then. This is being driven more because if you've got the boat out of the water riding on two or three small wings, that's all of the resistance that you have, the water resistance, the friction. And so you can use a smaller electric motor than you would a internal combustion motor, and you don't need as much battery on board to push it because you've just got these, this much smaller wetted surface area, which is something I think a lot about in rowing, because wetted surface area and friction are really the only barrier to speed in a rowing boat.
I've never heard those words before, but interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. So thank you, Mark. We're not
Thank you. And boat number 3.
From Jen.
Jen.
Yeah.
With no last name.
Right.
This is the inflatable houseboat. Which obviously wins. Moving on. What's our next?
I haven't even seen this yet, again, because I don't look at them, because I like to be surprised. I think someone might have submitted this already for Boat of the Week, but there is a new model out.
That's what she says. She says, I think someone might... Oh, were you reading?
I was, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go. All right, I'll read. And I can't recall if the crossover of boat and floaty was discussed to its fullest. Probably not for you people. Lots of content there, I'd imagine. Also, the good news is girls in bikinis with long nails can drive it while balancing their phone on their laps. Eye roll, not the take back the boat roll modeling I was imagining, but I guess we have to take it. But they do role model that a floaty hater like Jeff can pack his own inflatable sup and get away from everyone. So there's that. But also mute swans, really? All right, let's click the link.
Yeah, we're back to the birding again. Very nice. There's a lot of full circle going on.
New inflatable houseboat fits into an SUV. I don't know if there was an inflatable porch.
There was an inflatable porch, and then there was an inflatable runabout.
Yeah.
Remember? And but that didn't have an engine. That was more a floaty toy that looked like a boat.
All right.
So that was like, I think it was called the float of the week, or I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, this is new. We haven't had this before.
So I'm going to describe it. It is a big inflatable raft, probably 6 feet wide by 12 feet long.
16 inflatables, 16 meter and a half of deck. 16 meter square. Go ahead. Yep, you're right. Go ahead.
So, and then that's like the base. That's what's sitting down in the water. And then on either side of it is like a sort of shapely, almost like arrowhead, sort of asymmetrical arrowhead inflatable structure on both the port and the starboard, left and the right side. And those are attached to the rectangular base. They provide the sides, and then the roof is made up of a trampoline strung between 2 inflatable or maybe 3 inflatable beams overhead. And on that overhead trampoline, there sits the inflatable stand-up paddleboard that Jen mentioned I can use to get the hell out of there, because you people are just like laying about on your floaties. And there is
is there like a little electric engine?
Yeah, there's a little electric outboard, like a trolling motor outboard on the back, and this is the Electric Cat 16. There's some it's got like zip-in screens on the side so that you could take it into a buggy location where there's like a bunch of mosquitoes or mayflies, they're about to come out because it's 2 weeks away from May.
And then if you watch the video, which Jen referenced, there are some long nails and phone balancing that goes on, and it is a little like opposite of Take Back the Boat. There's a lot of like girls not driving, but yeah, you can also zip it all the way in and make it into a little like enclosure for camping.
Yeah, Slovenian manufacturer Hovercraft has launched an updated model, the Electric Cat 16 inflatable houseboat. It's a lot to call this a houseboat. This is more of a tent boat.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's it's slightly sort of overstating what this is, really. I mean, there's nothing in there that says house.
Yeah, nothing in there that says house.
There's no kitchen. There's no bathroom. And I mean, you can consider the whole thing a bed, but that's about as far as it goes, right?
Right. It's a tent.
But with that said, I still want one.
Oh, it has a claimed top speed of up to 4 knots with a 1 kilowatt electric outboard and 7 knots with a 3 kilowatt unit. Because when you're talking about your inflatable tent houseboat, you're definitely worried about top speed and your 0 to 60.
Well, being inflatable does help it go from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Not 1 to 60, 1 to 3.
4 knots to 4 knots to 7 knots. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dare to dream.
It won it was a finalist in the 2020 Gussie's Electric Boat Award and won the Solar Award at the E Regatta of the 2021 Venice Boat Show. Okay, well, there you go.
Okay.
There was something else. There was something else from Cam David. Oh, the commissioning list. That's what it was. which we did a musical rendition of. Which
right.
you said you thought that was very on brand.
That we would take a commissioning list and then just sing it for no reason.
Yeah. And just so you know, listeners, Steph made me promise to edit out anything that made her sound at all remotely dumb or embarrassing. Was it all remotely embarrassing? So there was a lot more singing and a bunch of
that's why it was so short.
That's why it's so short. There was a lot more singing and attempts at melody with commissioning items and a decent amount of like spoken word stuff too. And there were a lot more mistakes I made playing the 2 chords that I know on the guitar.
Yeah, but as we know, you have to be bad at things before you get at them. So we're not sorry.
All right. There wasn't anything else from Cam David.
Okay. So we have an inflatable houseboat. We have a hydrofoiling system that puts boats up out of the water.
Yes.
And we have a first boat in tin boat launch situation.
Yes.
Which we used to always call like a tin can. That's what we call those.
Okay. Yeah.
Growing up, I don't know why, but those are 3 very, very different offerings.
Yeah. I'll riff. I'm drawn to the tin can for its simplicity and
utility
and lack of pretension.
Yep, me too.
I am drawn to the hydrofoiling boat because it's new and different, even though it looks funky. I'm gonna give a positive for the inflatable house tent.
Even though you're struggling.
I am drawn to it because with all of the screens zipped in and anchored someplace way out of the way, I could take an epic nap on it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be fun.
Well, no, it would not be fun. It would be a good nap, but I could also do that on a lot of other boats that wouldn't be as much of a giant pain in the ass to deal with.
The thing about the houseboat for me is putting it together and taking it apart. I have no interest in doing that.
This is like because you don't want to just leave it inflated.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I guess we could try leaving it in a bay somewhere. That seemed to work pretty well a few years ago. Wouldn't need much of an anchor for that. No. So, you could do whatever you want. But, like, I definitely don't want to be packing that thing up and then unpacking it. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I have things to do.
Yeah.
So there's that. I echo your interest in I like the innovation of the hydrofoiling system. I like that it's nice and green. I like the fact that you don't feel the waves.
Wait, do we include the system, which means we would include those cool catamaran renderings?
Yeah, I think it could be either or.
Okay, because those when the foiling boat is designed to look like a foiling boat and not just a boat you slap foils on it, I think it looks really nice.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's got some appeal. I'm interested in it. I mean, it's very different, but I know somebody now who just moved to the area recently and has a sailboat that does this, and he cannot say enough good things about the hydrofoiling sailboat. And I'm sure it's a cool experience. And I'm very interested in boats that you don't feel waves in. It has my attention.
Okay. And
I already forgot what the other one was.
The first boat ride of the year, tin boat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you really can't argue with that one. It's a classic,
But we have to pick a winner, so we're going to have to argue with 2 of these. We've already argued with the inflatable one. We're both like, nah.
Well, the thing about the first boat of the year tin boat is like it's already doing what it's meant to do, which is getting people out on the water. It's like already functioning. It's not conceptual. It's not, like the other 2 are a little bit conceptual. This one is just like delivering the goods. That's what I like about it.
Okay. It is. However, because this is our show, right now I've had it up to here with outboard powered tin boats.
Oh no.
I'm
You're
sp-
like your Bodhi side hustle is kind of like it's like worming its way into your like you should right now you should be like yearning for boat season instead of you're fed up. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you.
Yes, you are. And
That's so
and
funny.
it has a 15 horse Evinrude on it, which is probably like the one motor that's like more hammered and less reliable than these Merc 20s that keep like. Well, that's not true. It's not fair. These Merc and Tohatsu 20s, they get used hard, and the two motors that I was talking about on our two tin boats, they're both like between 10 and 15 years old that have just been like they've been serviced, but just used hard and bounced off of everything. But still,
I think
I had my bony butt on a tin boat seat this morning, and it was thankfully warm. However, like all of last week, as we are in forever March, or the not spring season, I can't get behind a tin boat for boat of the week. It's just I can't.
Wow.
I'm not gonna. So because of
I'm
that,
not gonna.
ladies and gentlemen, the Whatchamadoodle electric foiling concept.
Hydrofoil? We're gonna go with the hydrofoil?
The hydrofoil is your boat of the week.
It's the boat of the week, stable or sleek. Check out that vessel, baby, isn't she sweet? It's the boat of the week, the boat of the week. Ooh, how I love me, the boat of the week. Ba-da-da-da.
Well, there you have it. That's a show.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kickstarter is live until the 22nd of this month. So that's just over another week. And if you go to Kickstarter.com and search for The Bodhi Show album, you have opportunities to back the original album of Bodhi Show inspired yacht rock. And please do. We're going to start calling people and activate some more fundraising activity to get some people back in this. We've got a number of backers already. Thank you very much for those that have backed the project. We think it's going to be a ton of fun to produce, and we hope you do too. And if you do, please show us your support by backing. Doesn't even matter at what level. The more backers, the better. The more people we have involved in the project, the better.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, this was fun.
This was fun. It had been a little bit since we'd had a regular show, and we did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Next time.
Yo ho ho, that's it for the Bodhi Show. Pack the cooler, grab the lines, let's go, go, go. Yo ho ho ho.
That's it for the Bodhi Show.
That's it.
I got my
Peace
mic.
out.
I got my mic too close to my mouth for that one. How's that, Jay? How'd I do, Jay?
You did great for
Does
most
it sound
of the
better?
show.
All right. This sounds better? This sound better?
It all sounds the same to me. All right, next time.
That was super fun. We are out.